Yo, what's going on, guys? It is a few days into the new year, and I hope so far that this year has been treating you well. If you didn't see the video I put out, and I'll put a link above, about my goal for this this month. I'm going to put out a reaction video every day of this month, so make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed so you'll get the notifications as all of those roll out. With that being said, today I'll be reacting to 15 places the Earth acts in strange ways. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the video. Here we go.
Our planet is a weird place, and while it's filled with immeasurable wonders, both natural and man-made, it's also home to some of the most baffling and undecipherable occurrences in the scientific world. Despite the fact that us humans have surveyed, mapped, and analyzed almost every single inch of this pale blue dot that we call home, there remains at least a few unexplored realms that have historically given us more questions than answers. From the largest cave on the planet to islands that have emerged from thin air. Here's 15 places the Earth acts in strange ways.
He got it in his bag while crossing the bridge, and I was crying at that time.
Quicksand. All right, what better way to begin than with a very important public service announcement? Quicksand is dangerous, that's a fact. And yet, despite being one of the most widely known natural phenomena on the planet, little is known about the bizarre properties behind this weird sinking sand. The good news is, if you're worried about one day stumbling into quicksand and suddenly getting swallowed whole by the earth, never to be seen again, don't panic. Because in real quicksand, you won't sink in, at least not all the way. While this strange sinking mud is definitely difficult to get out of, thankfully for us, it doesn't work the way that it seems to work in the movies. And according to a recent scientific study, it's physically impossible for a person immersed in quicksand to be drawn completely under. In fact, the weird thing is, us humans actually float in the stuff. As a combination of the fine sand, clay, and salt water, scientists have found that quicksand thickens as it rests. And at higher stresses, it liquefies very quickly, leading to the initial sinking effect. The higher the stress of the quicksand, the more fluid it becomes, causing a trapped body to sink the more it starts to move. The thing is, us humans just aren't dense enough to sink completely in, and it'll take considerable weight for us to be truly dangerous. If you're ever unfortunate enough to get stuck in quicksand, just make sure to wiggle your legs around, creating a space big enough for water to flow through and dilate the sand. Good to know, right?
I'm sure you guys have probably seen that meme before that says something like to the effect that as a kid I always thought quicksand was going to be a much more serious thing than it is as an adult. And it's true, because if you think like the Scooby-Doo cartoons and like all those different scenarios and cartoons and programming, at least for me, there were so many instances where like quicksand was going to take you away. So it's kind of interesting seeing this as the very first one on this video.
Before we move on, smash that like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell right now. If you don't, a venomous viper will appear in your bed tonight. So do what's best for you. The Yellowstone supervolcano. You don't need us to tell you that Yellowstone National Park is one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. Yet despite the immeasurable natural wonder of America's famous park, it's also home to one of the most dangerous geographical formations in the world. If you didn't already know, Yellowstone is home to the Yellowstone supervolcano, and scientists have been holding their breath for decades as to the incredible danger that it potentially possesses. In fact, the potential threat of Yellowstone erupting in the near future, as well as the sheer size of this colossal supervolcano, means that it's currently the most dangerous natural cataclysm on the planet. Yellowstone's most recent eruption occurred 640,000 years ago, with its first known eruption dating back over 2.1 million years ago. However, since these blasts, geologists have noted a long history of non-eruptive events and lava flows, meaning that although Yellowstone's most devastating blasts occurred millions of years in the past, its frequency of activity makes it far from dead or dormant. In fact, Yellowstone's most famous tourist attractions Its incredible geysers are down to the volcanic activity occurring deep beneath the landscape of Yellowstone National Park.
Can't wait to be able to go to Yellowstone in my RV. Maybe that will be something I get to do this year. I have no idea yet. It's still unsure what this year is going to hold for me, but it's definitely on my list of places to travel in my RV. So let me get back to the video though.
Thankfully for us, the volcano itself is monitored for even the slightest of movement every single day by a team of dedicated geologists, keeping us safe and sound with the scientific knowledge of its volcanic activity. If it did explode, scientists estimate that human civilization would take centuries to recover, as it would likely wipe out nearly 2/3 of the population.
Of the whole U.S. or just the area, or what? Did I miss part of it? Okay, 2/3 of the population of that area? That's crazy. I think I missed part.
Yikes. Han Song-dun. We may as well keep our attention on the incredible places beneath the Earth's surface, and what better way to survey the mysteries of our planet's crust than through the world's deepest and longest cavern. Located between the Laos-Vietnam border, Son Doong Cave is one of the world's largest natural caves and contains one of the largest known cave passages.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So I love looking at these things, but some of these places are not things that I think I would want to venture in on my own. I'm sure it's an amazing site, but I just feel like it'd be my luck that like I would be in there and that's when that thing would collapse or something would break. Some freak accident. And I know it's very unlikely, but something about going underground and in the caves, it just always leaves me a little bit uneasy compared to exploring things above ground. At least I feel like above ground you have an escape. Here, who knows what could happen, but this is really amazing looking.
Messages on the planet by volume alone. Its name, which in Vietnamese translates to Cave of the Mountain River, is derived from the huge, fast-flowing subterranean river that's carved its way through the internal rock for millions of years. Formed in limestone, Hang Song Dun is believed to be between 2 and 5 million years old, and yet it wasn't discovered until 1991. When a local man noticed a whistling sound of wind and the roar of a stream issuing from the strange cave entrance. Still, despite being discovered by the locals, it remained a mystery to the wider world until late 2009, when a group of cavers from the British Cave Research Association began to fully map the astonishing underground passage. Amazingly, while the cavern continues to be fully mapped and explored, it's actually connecting to a multitude of underground rivers and nearby cave systems, leading many to believe that a much wider network of caverns is yet to be found.
I wonder if they'll find any new species down there. That'd be interesting too. I mean, just to think what's that deep into the earth, there obviously could be things living there, just like there's things at the depths of the ocean that we never see until they start sending all these submarine type drones down there and filming and discovering new things. It'd be interesting to see a follow-up story on this in maybe the next decade.
Cerro Blanco. You may have already heard of the Nazca Lines, one of the strangest and least understood archaeological pictographs left behind by the ancient indigenous societies of Peru. But the lesser-known Cerro Blanco that reside nearby have caught our attention for a different reason entirely. Sand dunes are difficult things to measure at the best of times, but the Cerro Blanco structure, found near Nazca in Peru, has a legitimate claim to being one of the tallest sand dunes on the planet, and is believed to be a place of untold geological mystery. Cerro Blanco, also known as Duna Grande, towers above the deserts of the southeastern city of Nasa, soaring to astonishing heights of around 3,860 feet from base to peak. Astonishingly, the giant sand dune is taller than the highest mountain in England, and from its peak, you can reportedly see as far as the Pacific Ocean on a clear day. Guys, that's a mountain made from sand. Incredibly, the ancient Nazca civilization once believed the colossal dune to be a source of water, so much so that some locals still believe that a giant underground lake or reservoir still remains at its center. Whatever the case, Cerro Blanco remains to be a true geological enigma. India's root bridges. While most of the entries on this list are noted by their astonishing natural beauty, few of them can compare to the whimsical nature of India's surreal root bridges. In what could be an image straight out of a fantasy novel, incredibly dozens of rural societies.
That makes me think of like Swiss Family Robinson or like the little Ewok village or something in Star Wars. It's really neat.
Across India's remote countryside have somehow managed to cultivate their own building materials in order to traverse the wind and wonderful landscape. So much so that they've even managed to grow their own bridges. In the depths of northeastern India, nestled between the India-Bangladesh border, the small village of Cherrapunji have grown centuries-old bridges from the tangled roots of the rubber tree, cultivating the direction of these roots over generations in order to maintain their growth. As one of the wettest and most humid places on planet Earth, the unique conditions of this region have provided the perfect circumstances for the rubber trees to create incredibly strong root systems, secure enough to span over rivers and cliff sides in order to provide passage for the local population. Amazingly, the root bridges of India come in a huge variety of shapes and sizes, where some of them have been known to grow as long as 170 feet.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, that's... So, when I was probably like 5th or 6th grade, I guess, my sister's boyfriend at the time and later husband was in college at Texas A&M University in the Corps, and so every time they would learn different survival technique type things, he would come back and show me and my brother. There were these woods that were behind the house I grew up in, and at some point he taught us, you know, like how to dig this underground bunker, and we did that, and then we built a fort up in the tree. And when I say fort, it was about 17 foot off the ground, and we were cutting the trees down with like little axes and saws and using rope to tie it together. But over time we made a surface area up in the air that was probably about 12 or 15 foot wide by about 20 foot long, and it was all just made out of natural stuff from the woods. So seeing all this is kind of like taking me back to that. So I don't know, it's kind of cool seeing this. I wish we would have had these massive root systems in the trees that we were building in. That would have made it even cooler than it already was, having that stuff as a kid. Let's get back to it.
Soaring over 80 feet above the streams and rivers that they cross. While the cultural practice of maintaining these incredible structures was once thought to be dying out, since they became boom in tourism back in the early 2000s, the practice has once again flourished. Pamukkale Hot Springs. Turkey is a country filled with numerous ancient wonders, from the ancient ruins of Göbekli Tepe to some of the oldest and most mysterious subterranean networks. But when it comes to enjoying the strange geological properties of the region, the Pamukkale Hot Springs are a place like no other. Pamukkale, which is a small town in western Turkey, is best known for its mineral-rich theme waters that flow down across a series of bright white terraces across the deep valley side. Amazingly, the temperatures of these hot springs range from a luxurious 95 degrees to a searing 210, and it owes its incredible heat to the unique volcanic and thermal activity of the area, as there are a total of 17 hot water springs across the area. Pamukkale has traditionally been a hot spot for those wanting to relax in its healing waters. In fact, the ancient Romans enjoyed the area so much that they founded a spa city next to the pools back in 190 BC, the ruins of which are now considered to be an integral part of Pamukkale's unique tourist appeal. Floating islands of Lactic Lake. Sure, we've already seen the astonishing root bridges, but it seems that the incredible natural phenomena of the Indian subcontinent doesn't end there. Feast your eyes on Lactic Lake, the largest and only freshwater lake in northeastern India that's home to one of the strangest natural formations on Earth, a series of unique floating islands called fundes. Amazingly, these circular land masses are made of vegetation, soil, and different stages of decaying organic matter that have since developed into a spongy surface that function pretty much exactly like a trampoline. Speckled across Lactic Lake, there are believed to be several thousands of these strange funde structures in its surrounding waters, which have become vital for irrigation and providing drinking water for the local areas, acting as a unique platform in which people can maneuver across the lake. Currently, thousands of fishermen make their livelihood in the strange waters of Lactic Lake, catching around 6.6 million pounds of fish on an annual basis.
That's really cool. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just interesting how these things happen naturally. It's really neat.
And making this mysterious and whimsical place one of the most unique neighborhoods on the planet. Hey, there's even a floating island school. The Devil's Tower. While Devil's Tower may sound like an ominous landmark at the end of the world, it's far from it, and this extraordinary geological structure is one of the most spiritual places on the planet. The truth is, you may have seen this towering peak before, as this dramatic stone butte was famously featured in Steven Spielberg's 1977 sci-fi classic, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, culminating in a scene where an alien mothership looms high above the rock formation.
If you haven't seen that movie, it's an older movie, but it's definitely worth watching. It's one that I watched when I was pretty young, and it just kind of stuck with me forever. I've always remembered when he was like carving out of the potatoes, and I think that's what he was carving was this. But let me get back to it.
Despite the Hollywood sheen, Devil's Peak, which towers 1.267 feet into the sky, is sacred to many First Nation and Native American tribes who revere this region for its otherworldly spiritual properties. To the tribes of the Northern Plains, the sacred rock appears in a multitude of oral histories and creation mythologies, going by multiple ancient names. The Arapaho know it as Bear's Tipi, the Kiowa refer to it as Aloft on the Rock or Tree Rock, and the Lakota people call it Bear Lodge, Greyhorn Butte, and Ghost Mountain. Its significance in the traditions of the native people mark it as one of the most extraordinary geological formations in North America. Heldalin Valley Lights. Alright, nothing says strange like a night sky filled with weird floating lights, right? Well, for one Norwegian town, stepping outside your house and noticing a dazzling array of light has become a pretty common occurrence, and it has famously drawn the attention of countless scientists and UFOologists in order to determine their origin. Known as the Heldalin phenomenon, the flashing orbs have been seen as large as cars, and the variety of their size has led many amateurs to believe that the lights are the result of an experimental alien activity. Obviously, the alien theory isn't exactly based in much fact, and yet despite the weird properties of the Heldalin lights, their origin has eluded scientists since the early 2000s. The leading consensus is that the unusual lights could be formed by a natural battery-type object buried deep underground, created by naturally occurring metallic minerals reacting with a sulfurous river running through it. Although this theory is yet to be verified, it has undoubtedly made Heldalin one of the weirdest places on the planet. Stone Forest of Shailin. China is an extraordinary nation, spanning thousands of miles across some of the most varied terrain on the planet, as well as being home to more natural wonders and geological anomalies than you can shake a stick at. Perhaps one of the weirdest locations is the Shailin Stone Forest of Kunming, a 270 million year old forest of stone that spans 186 miles of otherworldly rock formations. In an assembly of giant stalagmite-like pillars, the Shailin Stone Forest was formed over the millennia by seismic activity.
Now see, this one compared to the other one at the beginning of the video, I wouldn't mind walking through this one. This one seemed a little bit more above ground, a little bit more escape options if something were to go wrong. Yeah, I just don't like the underground cave things. They freak me out a bit.
Water and wind erosion that's carved the present-day limestone into astonishingly unique formations. One of Shailin's most famous attractions is the Ashima Stone, which legend says was formed after a beautiful girl named Sunny ran into the forest and was turned to stone after being forbidden to marry the man she loves. Red Beach in Panjin. Staying firmly in the wondrous natural landscapes of China. If you thought a forest made entirely from stone was weird, how about a blood-red beach? Well, despite its name, it's technically not a beach, but it's bizarre either way. Otherwise known as the Panjin Red Beach, this enigmatic waterway lies on the Shaanxi River estuary, which owes its distinctive color to the high saline content and extraordinarily high alkaline levels. Typically, this unique combination has led to almost every species of plant being unable to grow in both the water and on shore, incapable of rooting down in the otherwise toxic condition. However, there is one incredibly special plant that has adapted to this alkaline environment, thriving amongst the saline river.
Visually, it just looks really, really neat. I like all the red. I bet you it looks even better in person than it is in these photos and videos.
Sweta, otherwise known as sea blight. is a succulent plant that's almost exclusively found in the habitat of the Panjin red beech. And as you may have guessed it, it's bright red. Surtsey. What's stranger than an island in the middle of nowhere? Well, as it turns out, the answer is an island that appears out of nowhere. Way back in 1963, a crew aboard an Arctic trawler were sailing near Iceland when they spotted a column of smoke rising from the sea surface. Incredibly, although they didn't know it at the time, they were witnessing the birth of a new island. Surtsey, a volcanic structure that famously emerged off the southern coast of Iceland, named after Surtur, a fire giant of Norse mythology. The eruptive birth of Surtsey lasted for several years, but after just a few days of being forged in fire, the new island already measured over 1,640 feet in length. By April of 1965, the island had formed its own...
I was not aware of this. This is really interesting.
...defenses out of molten lava, preventing the waves of the Atlantic washing away the island. Ultimately, the eruption lasted 3.5 years, finally ending in June of 1967, where it now remains as one of the most famous volcanic islands on the planet. Amazingly, it's not the only one, and most recently, several islands have emerged out of the fiery island chains of Tonga in the Pacific Ocean, causing scientists to wonder what other geological anomalies lie beneath. Myanmar's Golden Boulder. Nothing says strange and terrifying like a boulder that seemingly defies gravity, right? But what about that boulder is actually a sacred rock that's painted entirely in gold and teeters at the edge of a cliff in some cartoonish and precarious display? Yeah, Myanmar's Golden Boulder may be one of the most incredible sacred sites on the planet, but it's also potentially a devastating accident waiting to happen. Towering over 25 feet, the Golden Rock is located in the Kyaiktiyo Pagoda in Myanmar and is visited every day by thousands of pilgrims.
Makes me wonder if it is legitimately just sitting there like a giant boulder, or if they somehow have that thing hollow, like a rod or something connecting it to appear that it's going to fall off, but it's secured. I don't know. You'll have to do some more research on this one.
Wanting to catch a glimpse of the strange and mysterious balancing enigma. The boulder, which is adorned entirely in glittering gold, is said to have been placed over a single strand of Buddha's hair, which gives it the ability to defy gravity and prevent it from hurtling down the cliff at devastating speeds. Those that visit Myanmar's Golden Boulder are said to be blessed with wealth and prosperous health for the coming year.
Guess I need to go over there and go touch that golden boulder.
And thankfully, the rock itself shows no sign of budging. Salar de Uyuni. As one of the most inhospitable salt flats on the planet, you'd be forgiven for mistaking this next extraordinary landscape for something straight out of a science fiction movie. And incredibly, Salar de Uyuni isn't located in Tatooine, but Bolivia, where it's become one of South America's most mysterious and breathtaking natural formations.
I've seen quite a few of the YouTubers that I follow that have gone here, and this is another place that's on my list. I definitely would love to go to and visit in person.
Considered to be one of the most extreme and remarkable vistas in all of South America, if not planet Earth, it stretches out far more than 4,050 square miles and holds the official title as the world's largest salt flat. This incredible landscape was left behind after a prehistoric lake evaporated there eons ago, and now all that remains is a thick crust.
Look at that visual. That's just like amazing. I'd love to be there and take my drone up and just get some amazing videos and photos.
Of salt that extends across the horizon. At certain times of the year, nearby lakes overflow, and a thin layer of water transforms the salt flat into a stunning reflective surface, casting back the image of the sky onto the earth. You can certainly see why Salar de Uyuni is also known as the world's largest mirror. Incredible.
Kara and Nate, that was one of the YouTuber channels I follow that went there.
Cool. Great Pacific Garbage Patch. All right, what better way to finish this incredible whistle-stop tour than reminding us all about the terrifying danger that our oceans currently face? Ever heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Well, if it wasn't for us humans, this thing certainly wouldn't exist. But as it seems, it's going to take human intervention to tackle this polluted vortex and hopefully save our planet. Tragically, every single year, millions of tons of plastic enter our planet's oceans, the majority of which spills out from rivers and smaller water systems. In a devastating turn of events, the vast majority of this plastic still travels out to the ocean garbage patch, a maelstrom of pure pollution caught up in a vortex of circulating currents. If you've seen these things, then you'll know just how truly horrific they are. And plastic pollution is currently choking the life out of oceans and ecosystems. Currently, the largest of these is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is believed to be 3 times the size of France, containing more than 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic.
That is just ridiculous, man. I mean, people, come on. Like, if you're gonna be using these things, plastics and whatnot, I mean, I use them too, but I try to recycle absolutely everything I possibly can. I never throw trash out the window. I put everything into the garbage or recycle the proper way. We gotta stop polluting our planet. Like, we have to. This is insane. It's like 3 times the size of France. Is that what they just said? And it's just, that's just unacceptable.
Because it's so far from any country's coastline, no single nation will take responsibility or provide funding to clean it up. And it appears that the only answer is to work together in tackling this irreversible issue. Well, there we have it. 15 places the Earth acts in strange ways. What'd you guys think? Let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, thanks for sticking around all the way until the end. You've been watching Missing Files. See you next time.
All right, if you guys enjoyed that video, go check out the YouTube channel Missing Files. They have a lot more content like that, so I just went ahead and liked the video myself. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'm going to be doing a reaction video every single day of January 2021. So there'll be a different one every day. Some of them are going to be music, some of them are going to be more stuff like this, some of them are going to be, you know what, just come back and keep watching and subscribe to my channel. If you could help me out by sharing my content to help me grow my channel as well, I greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next video. Later.